everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Ultimate Show. I'm Ben, and we have James and Andrew here. They may be laughing because we recently have some camera difficulties, but
That's
that's not
fine.
going to get us in the way of doing this wonderful division preview for the playoffs. So the first division we're going to do is James's division, the Eastern Division. And tell us all about that, James.
Okay, guys, so in the Eastern Division, here's what we have. In the first seed, for I think the fourth consecutive year, or at least since their inception in the AUDL, we have the Toronto Rush with their worst record ever at 11-3. I know, that's literally their worst record. So if that says anything about how good the Toronto Rush are, that should say it, because their worst record is 11-3. The DC Breeze has their third playoff appearance in 4 years, with a record of 10-4, and their second seed for the second consecutive year. And for the second time in 3 years, the Montreal Royal will be in the playoffs as the third seed, and their record is 9-5. So, congratulations to all the Eastern Division playoff teams. Now, barring any rescheduling by the teams, the schedule that we have has Montreal at DC playing on Friday, August the 11th. This season series actually is in Montreal's favor. Montreal beat DC in the season series 2-1. However, we do know DC does have the talent. They went through an exceptional game last year with the Toronto Rush and ended up in overtime, where DC ended up losing by 2 points and allowed Toronto Rush to make it to championship weekend again. So, as far as the playoffs go, as much as I love for Montreal to make it the championship weekend, and as much as I'd love for Montreal to make it the championship weekend and represent their own, be their hometown heroes, I just don't see them beating DC at home in the playoffs. I can't see it. I mean, is it possible? Yes, anything's possible. Any given day, any team can win. But I think DC just has too much going for them in this particular game. It's the playoffs. DC's at home. They don't normally lose at home. In fact, I think they went 7-0 this year at home. Or is that another team I'm thinking of? I know one team went 7-0 this year at home, and I can't really remember which one it is. But I'm pretty sure it's DC.
The Wind Chill did it.
Yeah, Wind Chill. Well, it's another team I'm thinking of then. I wasn't thinking of the Wind Chill, but Wind Chill did. It's another team. I think it was DC. So, I think DC over Montreal, and in the division finals, that would put DC at Toronto. DC beat Toronto in the season series this year, and really the only time Toronto beat DC was when DC was missing players. And even that game was pretty close, but when DC beat Toronto, like they beat Toronto. It was really, guys. What is that? Okay.
Jeez.
Okay. Anyways, DC. I think DC beats Toronto, even though Toronto is going to be at home. So I'm predicting DC to go to championship weekend as Eastern Division champion. However, if Montreal beats DC, I think Toronto would beat Montreal and beat Eastern Division champion. But my prediction is for DC to beat Montreal and Toronto and be Eastern Division champion. So, you guys have any thoughts about that?
Well, we should mention that the second round, which you said would be DC versus Toronto, is only 2 days later, so that's another factor.
Oh yeah, Sunday, August 13th.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really like, it's still like a Canadian road trip though. Like, they're not going that far.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say though is that Montreal seems to be very good away, so I think that DC Montreal game is one I'm really looking forward to.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Montreal going on the road to beat DC, but just so they can have a chance at the second round on that Sunday there. But Toronto's the powerhouse, so I'm going to have to go with Toronto to be that winner in the Eastern Division. But it's going to be, I don't know, I'm really hoping for Montreal to win it, but because, Madison hosted last year, and it made a huge difference in attendance that Madison made the championship weekend. So that might be a huge factor for the league to get fans to the game.
Yeah. I'm actually going to agree with you, Andrew. I think Montreal is going to beat DC in the first round, but then lose to Toronto in the second round.
Yeah.
But again, I would also love to see Montreal make it. But
I mean, I think everyone would. Montreal is
Yeah.
definitely like an underdog in this situation.
yeah, they're the lovable losers most of the time.
Yeah.
But
They have a huge
they're in
fan
the
base
playoffs,
too, so that's
so-
like it's like
Yeah.
really strange that they have a huge fan base.
yeah,
Yes.
I know.
Their
Wonder
their attendance is one of the best in the AUDL on a consistent basis.
Well, I mean, if you think, I'm pretty sure they just have a Canadian football team and the Habs. I mean, that's all they have. So, I mean,
Hey, since you're
it's
talking
tough
about
enough.
the Habs, Shea Weber, Nashville kind of misses you, but we have PK Subban. That is all.
Okay.
PK.
Thank you. So now moving on to the Midwest Division. That's Andrew's division, so we'll hear what he has to say about that.
Yeah, Madison had one heck of a game Sunday. They had their first sudden death victory at home against the Alley Cats of all teams. It was a sloppy game from Madison, but a win's a win. I really thought the Alley Cats were going to pull it off at the end there, but Layout D had the Alley Cats spinning, and Graffy found his man in the end zone and got the point there. But going to the Midwest Division for the playoffs, Madison's the number 1 seed, the Winchell are the number 2, and Pittsburgh is the number 3 seed. So the weekends are August 4th is the semifinal, and then the winner of that game would go to Madison the next Saturday. The 4th is on a Friday, and the Saturday, August 12th. So Minnesota has been pretty good at home this year. And Pittsburgh always has struggled to beat Minnesota at Minneapolis and St. Paul up there. So I'm gonna say Minnesota holds on to this one, but I don't see them getting through and beating Madison. I know Madison's kind of had a down year, but they didn't have really a dominant year like last year they did. But they've always found a way to get the win. Marquise Mason is a huge dude. Kevin Pettit-Scantling is also one of the top players there. Peter Graffy, always a defensive stud. AUDL had him in the top 25 of defensive players, so he's going to be the guy to watch in Madison at that game. But Madison is going to punch their ticket in Montreal. It might be a narrow margin, obviously, but I think they've always had better luck against Minnesota than they have against Pittsburgh.
They've always had terrible luck against the Western Division champions.
Exactly. So hopefully, I like if they make it. I'm not sure what seed they're gonna be. It kind of depends on who else is gonna make it, but
Yeah.
I don't see them being in the top 2. I see them being one of the lower 2 seeds.
Yeah.
So
But it depends on who makes it the champion.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
ideally, if every regular season champion makes it, the first seeds, it would be Raleigh, Madison, Toronto, and San Francisco in that order. But again, that's assuming every number 1 seed makes it.
Yeah.
Oh, so Madison's guaranteed the number 2. So
If they win.
if they make it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Make it.
But last year's Western Division champ, the Seattle Cascades, are not making it to the playoffs. Sorry to see them go. I was really kind of surprised at how the season went for them. They just really didn't win as many games as I thought they would. I was really
That's
pulling
the
for
whole
them.
Western Division in the nutshell.
I know, that was a wild West, man. That came down to the last game too, so that was really exciting for a division.
Yeah.
I just need to see that throughout the league.
Yeah.
Hey, but guess who else? But guess who did make the playoffs? Another team Madison is very familiar with, the San Jose Spiders.
Yeah, they are going to be good. I'm kind of hoping they make it just to see powerhouse teams. But we'll leave that up to Ben to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Minnesota, because as much as Andrew's a fan of Madison, I'm a fan of Minnesota. So I have to pick Minnesota to keep their undefeated streak at home going because they haven't lost at home. They're 3 losses, 2 away at Madison, and 1 away at Pittsburgh, which we always seem to play Madison 3 times. Can we not?
I mean, I hate to be that guy, but something's just telling me Pittsburgh's winning the West, Midwest. I don't know why. I just do.
That would be nuts. That would be something else.
But Minnesota at Madison, I'm not even going to commentate on that because I know what's going to happen. It's just going to be like lose by 1 in overtime to miss out on championship weekend. Just the typical Minnesota thing.
Preferably not, but yeah.
No, that's going to happen.
After watching the Indy game, I was just like, oh man, hopefully this doesn't happen anymore.
Please.
No more of this.
The typical Minnesota thing is to like overachieve so great in the regular season and then start to fall off right as the regular season's ending and just either screw up your playoffs or end up in the very last seed. So you guys did pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I know. We actually beat Pittsburgh on the So
one of 2
we're
teams to do
through,
it,
guys. I promise. And so, James, let's hear your take on the South Division.
Okay, guys. So in the South Division, we have the first seed Raleigh Flyers at 13-1, their best regular season in 3 years in the league. We have the Dallas Roughnecks 11-3, 3 losses more than last year when they had an undefeated regular season and then an undefeated playoff. The second in AUDL history under the Toronto Rush. So, I mean, they still made the playoffs, but definitely some things were figured out for Dallas. And we have third seed Jacksonville Cannons at 10-4. So the first round was actually Jacksonville at Dallas. And even though Jacksonville's at Dallas, the thing about this game is Dallas has not beaten Jacksonville this year. 2 of their 3 losses were against Jacksonville, on the road and at home. So, I mean, it's due to a lot of things. Jacksonville's Jeremy Langdon, Cole Sullivan, what's his name? Jackson Stewart? No, that's not his. That's a Hannah Montana character. What the heck am I talking about?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you're missing Misha, so.
Yeah, Misha Freystarter. Now, I'm trying to think of the dude that got 22 goals in 1 game, even though that was against the National Night Watch. But he has the AD record for 22 goals in 1 game. Darn it. I'm wearing a jersey, too. Anyways.
It's embarrassing. I'm sorry.
Yeesh.
Anyways. So they have all of those people. Jacksonville's definitely not a team to be messed with. They would have Brody Smith if he would ever actually be able to play a game, for crying out loud. Like, they made that such like a big new signing at the beginning of the season. I just had a feeling it wouldn't be as big as they tried to make it seem like. And it hasn't.
Plays in the finals of championship weekend.
And ends up getting championship MVP.
Yeah.
Weekend. Finals MVP. Brody Smith for finals MVP.
That'd be nuts.
Okay. But honestly though, the other thing that makes this weird is Dallas is 1-1 against Raleigh and Jacksonville is 0-3 against Raleigh. So this is like a weird Southern Division rivalry, especially Raleigh and Jacksonville. Anyways, I feel like Jacksonville is going to beat Dallas because all the pressure is on Dallas, not Jacksonville. Dallas is the team at home, and Dallas is a team that hasn't beaten Jacksonville. And Dallas is the defending champions. So Dallas literally has all the pressure on them. I'm not going to say Jacksonville has nothing to lose, because they do have something to lose. They have a playoff game to lose. But like all the pressure is being shifted to Dallas here because they have so much on their back. There's so much expected of them. They need to get their first win against Jacksonville this year. They need to defend their championship. They need to defend their home territory. All the pressure is on Dallas, and I think that I think the pressure is going to get to them. I feel like Jacksonville is going to take advantage, like they have done the last 2 games. They've played each other this year, and I think Jacksonville is going to beat Dallas by the margin of whether it is 2 or 1 point, as that's how they've beaten Dallas the last 2 games, by either 1 or 2 points. But I think that pressure is going to be the reason that Dallas falls behind those 1 or 2 points and gives Jacksonville a ride to the Southern Division Championship game. And then we're going to have a great Southern Division rivalry between Raleigh and Jacksonville. These 2 teams faced off 2 years ago in the Southern Division Finals, where Raleigh won in double overtime. Raleigh's 3-0 against Jacksonville this year. They own the overall series over Raleigh. I mean, Raleigh owns the overall series over Jacksonville as far as these teams have been playing in this league. And I don't see Jacksonville beating Raleigh at home. This is a very studded Raleigh team. Justin Allen, very good upcoming Terrence Mitchell, who's actually, if you look at the picture on the schedule, they're actually using Terrence Mitchell's picture, which is pretty. And Jonathan Nethercutt, Jonathan Helton, who knows how to win in the playoffs. He's made one appearance at championship weekend where he lost to the Philadelphia Spinners in the finals. Brett Matzuka. You know, you have all these stars on Raleigh, and I don't think Jacksonville's going to be able to overcome that. Especially, again, I'm not going to say all the pressure is on Jacksonville because Raleigh has won at home. This is their second regular season division championship, and it could be their second division championship. But I think there is some pressure on Jacksonville to be able to beat Raleigh in this game.
And, you know, I completely agree with you about Jacksonville over Dallas, but I'm actually going Jacksonville all the way.
Wow.
I don't know why. I'm just going with it.
I'm going to take Dallas at home, and then I'm going to take Raleigh at home. Because Raleigh's been there. They were there last year, I think, they were there in the final last year. Because Dallas ended up going to championship weekend. But they've always been on the cusp. They've always been, like, so far, like, this close to making the championship weekend trip.
Actually, it was Atlanta in the division finals last year. They beat Raleigh in the semifinal. But Raleigh has always been in the playoffs.
They've always been so close, and I think this year has been kind of revealing how they can. You know, they're 1-1 with Dallas. They beat Jacksonville 3 times, and Jacksonville's 10-4. So I mean, if Jacksonville does make it, I don't see Jacksonville overcoming Raleigh, at least. Not in the South. Like that game's gonna be warm. It's gonna be like the humid, hot game of the year, and
I feel like that favors Jacksonville, though.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. Like weather, because like I live in Tennessee, guys, and like Tennessee and North Carolina kind of have like similar weather patterns, whereas Florida weather has like nowhere near close to like the same like effect that it does in like the mid-eastern South. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but so like I'm not gonna say weather is gonna be that big of a thing, but Jacksonville is normally rainy, it's muddy, their fields are pretty crappy, while Raleigh has like it's humid, it's hot. Not saying Jacksonville's not used to heat, but it's normally like, I mean, it's like, well, it's humid heat, but like they're used to like messy fields, while Raleigh's used to like good fields with humid heat. So, you know, all of that could play a factor. All of it could possibly
definitely. But I'm going to go with Raleigh because I want to see them make a championship weekend, and I want to see for one of the first times that the reigning champ doesn't make it a championship weekend the following year.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And now we go to maybe the most competitive of the divisions, the West Division. And I have to say, look at that guy in the picture.
That is awesome. That is a fantastic photo right there.
I'm pretty sure that's Antoine Davis, or is that Devin Williams?
I'm not sure.
They look the same.
All I know is San Francisco Flamethrowers are 10-4 at the number 1 seed. Los Angeles Aviators 9-5 at the number 2 seed, and the worst record in all of the playoffs, San Jose Spiders 8-6. That's the number 3 seed. The first round, which is Saturday, August 12th, is San Jose at Los Angeles. And, you know, I've been kind of bashed on LA all year. And I think it's time I give them some love. Because they've proved me wrong several times. Watch them prove me wrong again. And just lose. So I'm going Los Angeles over San Jose. But the biggest factor in the Western Division is that it's back-to-back games. Because the next game is the day after on Sunday, August 13th.
As is so common in the West.
Yep.
Yes.
But at least for that series, it's not going to be a very far distance for teams to travel.
Yeah, I mean, it's all California.
LA to San Francisco is pretty far.
I mean, it's not that far.
I mean, they might actually just choose to play it at San Francisco because remember the last 2 years they just played it at the first seed's home.
But that would be like giving San Jose a home game.
True. I mean, they're all California. They all are California teams, though. So.
But maybe I don't know. I don't know what San Francisco's attendance is like. I'd have to look it up. But if San Francisco's attendance is good, they might as well have it at San Francisco. But we'll see what happens. The Aviators have surprised me this year. I've always kind of picked against them, and they've gotten a decent record. But San Jose's right there. They were on the cusp of being eliminated too. So
everybody.
Yeah, I mean there was 4 or 5 different teams that had 7-5 or they were 1 game away, and if San Jose didn't win their last game of the season, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. Same with Seattle. They were on the cusp of any San Francisco loss would have definitely eliminated them. No questions asked.
And I think that we need to remember that this San Francisco team, except for last week because he was at World Games, this San Francisco team has Bo Kittredge, who has won the last 3 AUDL championships.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I am going to go with San Francisco to make it to championship weekend.
Yep. Same here. San Fran all the way.
Yeah. You know what I would love to see just because? I would love to see, what's his name? Marquise Mason from Madison Radicals. I would love to see San Francisco versus Madison just so I could see the rookie versus, one of the greatest. That would be so great.
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch for sure.
Well, Jacksonville has that rookie too, Brogdon. So.
Oh yes.
I mean that could happen too. So.
Yeah, but for that first round game, I'm thinking LA makes it or LA wins it, and they play San Fran the following day.
Yeah. So all 3 of us picked the same one to move on to championship weekend in the most competitive division. How about that? Well, it's playoffs time, so anything can happen. And anything is... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Do you guys want to do something fun right quick? You guys want to pick one player from each team who you think's going to have the biggest effect on them in the playoffs?
Biggest effect?
Sure. So let's just start with Toronto.
Okay. So, as far as Toronto goes, I think we're gonna go with Mark Lloyd. He's probably one of the biggest faces for Toronto. He's a former champion, so he has experience. Played in the World Games. I think he got Canada bronze medal. I didn't pay much attention to the World Games except for USA winning gold.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So I think Mark Lloyd, as far as Toronto goes. DC, only because of the Schaffner name, I have to say Markham Schaffner.
Okay.
And honestly...
Okay, James.
I'm sorry, because Jessie's not playing for Nashville next year. She's leaving the AUDL, so...
No fun.
I know. Montreal, I don't know too many players from Montreal, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Montreal. I can't help you.
Well, I mean, they're hosting championship weekend. I mean...
Yeah. Their crowd, their fans. I don't think they're going to make the biggest impact.
Their fans are going to be a huge impact on that game.
That counts. That
does count.
Their fans. Their best player is their fans.
Yep. All right, Midwest Division. I'm just going to use the Radicals here because I think, I don't know, one name that sticks out to me is Peter Graffey. He's been a defensive stud all year long for the team. And I think he's going to come out with some sick layout block or sky, and it's going to lock up the game for the Radicals. So Peter Graffey from Madison, #1 defensive player for the team.
All right, and I'll just say Josh Plain for the Minnesota Wind Chill because, he makes about 62% of our passes. So.
Yeesh, that's a lot, man.
Doesn't run the offense at all, I promise.
And I'm gonna say, because he will be playing, hopefully, most likely, Tyler DiGirolamo for the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds.
Yeah, he's always a good player for them too. So.
All right, James, let's hear what you got for Raleigh, Dallas, and Jacksonville.
For Raleigh, I don't think I surprise anyone when I say a possible MVP candidate and Jonathan Nethercutt, who has been one of the best handlers throughout this entire season, and definitely the top handler for the Raleigh Flyers. But I mean, when you have cutters like Terrence Mitchell and Justin Allen, who will catch anything that comes within their vicinity, it makes your job a little easier. For Dallas, I mean, Dallas has players like Jay Frew, Jimmy Mickle, Dylan Freechild. But honestly, I'd have to say it'd be the sophomore Dylan Freechild. I mean, he has probably one of the biggest egos on the team. I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner, but he puts his passion into every game. He's definitely a great cutter. He can throw very accurate passes, and I think part of the reason that they're able to win so much is because of his passion for the game. That he's just willing to just do whatever it takes to win, as long as it remains legal. He's never actually cheated. He just is willing to do whatever it takes within the legal limits to win the game. And so I have to say Dylan Freechild. Jacksonville, I really have to say that it would be Jeremy Langdon, because he's the top scorer for Jacksonville this year. So Jeremy Langdon, he's a handler for the Jacksonville Cannons, but definitely right behind Jeremy Langdon, I'd say Misha Freistar. But for Jacksonville, I'd say the number one player to make the biggest difference would be Jeremy Langdon.
And now we'll go through the West. And for San Francisco, it would be rude for me to not say Bo Kittredge, but I'm going to have to go with Lucas Dahlman. He's been a very underrated player this year, and I think he'll come up big.
I would have thought Antoine Davis, personally.
Well, personally.
Pick one. There's probably
Lucas
4 or
Dahlman's
5 guys there,
yeah, fair enough. For LA, I'm going to go with Mark Elbogen. He's really held them together this season, and I'm excited to see what he can do against the Spiders. And then from the Spiders, I'm actually going to pick... let me think. He went from San Francisco to San Jose. Like, the one person who went that way. Oh, yeah. Justin Norden. I mean, he's really the only big player they have anymore since Bo Kittredge and his clan of players left for Dallas. So, yeah. Looking for big things from this playoffs, and hope you guys enjoy them too, and we'll see you next time.